All right,
Let's get this party started. Yeah.
so here we go. Episode 2.
Yeah.
No friendly fire. So tonight we have 902, and I really appreciate you being here, man. A Starlantian. Would you agree? A Starlantian?
Yeah, there's actually a funny story I got about that for a couple minutes down the road. But
All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, cool.
Big,
So,
big supporter of the project.
absolutely, yeah, me too. I love what's going on out here. So, so let's hear it. How did you get into DU 902? What brought you to the game?
All right, so Kickstarter. I'm actually a Kickstarter backer. The thing is that I had been bitten not long before this one went live by a couple of other projects that were, you know, high fee entry to get in at the alpha and the beta, and then those projects just fizzled out and never, in one case, didn't even make alpha. So a lot of money got thrown at the project with no recourse. So having been just a little bit singed by that, I said, you know something, I just can't, I'm just not interested. So what I did is I backed on success only. So I think that makes me a bronze founder officially. And over the 5-7 years, whatever it was, every once in a while, I'd send an email off to Nova Quark saying, are you guys still alive? Is this project still a go? And I'd either get nothing back or I'd get a form letter back basically saying, yep, not dead yet. Well, okay, that's great. But other than that, like, I hadn't heard anything about the beta. I hadn't heard anything about the alpha. There's just nothing. And then, yeah, about 2 weeks, it was about 2 weeks after the Steam went live, I got an email saying, oh, by the way, here's your Steam code. Oh, okay. I guess that means they're live. So that's how I got going.
All right. Well, so you get going, and what did you think? What did you think when you started playing? Were you here? Did you have any friends playing, or?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you just came in lone wolf style.
Yeah. I've been playing games for 40 years, about computer games of one kind or another for about 40 years. And all of them, I've always been looking for two things. EverQuest player, just started out, OG EverQuest player, played a lot of Eve, etc., various games. All of those games, I'm also heavy into tabletop role-playing games. I'm a professional GM. I've helped write tournament modules, stuff like that. So I've spent a lot of my past 40 years staring at gaming as a whole, regardless of media. And the thing that all of these games have in common, the successful ones, is community. I don't need to have friends to go there. I'll find friends when I get there if the game's any good.
Very good point.
I've been in an awful lot of guilds, clans, whatever. I've run a few. I've officered a few. I've gotten thrown out of a few. You know, I mean, because Eve. That's just the way the
All right, yeah.
And all of those operate on community. And so for me, what I was looking for in every game I played was to be able to leave my mark in a community. Be it a tabletop game, be it a tactical game, be it a video game environment, whatever, right? And so I went into DU because I was so excited at, and this is going to sound like I'm photocopying somebody else's words from last week, but so excited about the potential.
Yeah.
I did not will back Kickstarter projects, not because I ever intend to, or I'm all that keen on this particular iteration. For example, I've backed a couple of virtual tabletop systems over the years. Not because I thought they were any good, but because if someone didn't build them, they were never going to get better. So I backed a few of those projects with the idea that I'm probably never going to use the damn thing. I was basically spending $20 so that I could spend $20 so that in another $20 I can get the product I actually need. Because if nobody supports the middle steps, it never happens. So that was sort of where I went in on Dual Universe. I was pleasantly surprised when I dropped into Dual Universe for the first time.
I think that could be like honestly the pleasantly surprised thing. I can vibe with that because, you know, my first hour back in beta, like when you were cruising across Haven, or I guess Sanctuary back then, like the hills didn't load very well and the trees didn't load in until you were there. So it was like, oh man, I don't know about this. And then suddenly I was like very pleasantly surprised with like gameplay, and everybody's gonna yell at me right now because like what gameplay existed back then. But there was a lot, and there still is. I think you have to have an open mind to like find that in the average idea, and then the advanced idea just gets even better. So.
Well, and the key there is that you cannot play an open world game without an open mind.
Yes.
Very true. Very true.
And I do not mean that as a kick at anybody. I just want that clear. What I'm saying is that a lot of people don't approach games like this with the right mindset, because they've been taught, and through no fault of their own, by the way, with other gaming systems, what games are supposed to look like. I'll give you an example. First game I played on a computer was Atari Tank Commander. It was black and white. It came on it came on a green on a green machine.
Wireframe.
It had a pair of joysticks. No, it was the earlier version than that. It was a top-down isometric view that was block. It wasn't even wireframe. It was block pixelation. And you drove your little tank through the maze to try and get behind the other person's tank, because if you came at them from the other side, and you sat side by side, and you each had a pair of joysticks that were mounted in the console.
Yeah, you guys were like sitting so close together, you almost had to cuddle to play that game.
Your shoulders were against each other, yeah, which wasn't great if you were playing with your gaming against your sister, who had a tendency of elbowing you if you won. So I'm just saying.
I had brothers, so. Older brothers. It was like the good time for the younger brother to beat up the older brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So naturally, I thought, okay, so this is what computer gaming looks like. So my parents, having figured out that this was a great thing for the family, a couple of Christmases later, went out and got a ColecoVision. And those had, the old telephone cords there, the spirally cord. They had like a 5-foot one per controller. You were still hardwired to the box, but at least you could sit on the couch away from the other person's shoulders, right? Now that was living, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Now
that was safety.
And my point is that at every step of the way, the gaming experience improved. It's been 40 years for me, at least, of continuous improvement.
Yeah.
I don't even, when I'm working on a novel, I don't even have wires connected to my computer. Like, other than the power cable, there's no wires. That's it. It's the only power cable. It's the only cable. What the hell? I mean, that's magic.
Yeah.
And so when I got into Dual Universe, I had an open mind by predisposition, because I was expecting this was to be the beginning of the revolution, if you will. And I'm a drama queen. Ask my sweetheart. So this was the beginning of the revolution. Because I didn't expect DU to be the game I was going to fall in love with. I figured that the usual cycle for games like this is someone builds something like Dual Universe. Or someone builds EverQuest, someone plays it for a while and says, this is awesome, except this long list of stuff that's pissing me off. And then they go set up a company called Blizzard, and they release a game called World of Warcraft, which fixes all that stuff and steals their lunch. So when I got into Dual Universe, I was expecting this to be EverQuest. Okay. Brilliant. And it's going to show me what the better game will look like. That's all I was expecting. So when I say I was pleasantly surprised, I mean, the first thing that I immediately noticed. I did a lot of X-plane flight simulating, flying.
Yep. Okay.
And so I was part of the VATSIM network, which is virtual air traffic control simulation. So
what that
that is both. Well, not everybody does. I figured you'd be tuned in, but
I got the VR headset for that.
yeah. So when you're flying across the east coast of North America, let's say from Halifax down to Miami-Dade, every step of the way, I might be talking to a player who is the air traffic controller for that air zone. And I may be seeing other pilots who are flying aircraft, and we all have this gentleman's agreement, or that's gauche, but this player-to-player agreement that we're all going to play by the same set of rules because we all want to feel like pilots.
Yep.
There's nothing there to enforce the rules other than a vague threat from the VATSIM organization that if somebody complains about you too much, they'll just unplug you and boot you off the network. Okay. But generally speaking, if nobody complains, there's nothing really to force you to play along, except that everyone wants it to be right. And so everybody plays along in spite of there being no real formal structure to make it that way. We all just know what it's supposed to look like, and we all try and do that.
I think that's kind of what the whole podcast idea is. It's no friendly fire. We all want the same thing. We all want this. If you love this game, there's a lot of people that hate this game, and I don't think they hate the game. They hate what they've had happen to them in the game, and things that have changed in the game. But if you love this game, that's where this whole idea comes from, and I love that you brought this up because it is 100% what I've gotten behind. And if you know my history with beta, I was a big hater back in beta.
I kicked you in the pants over private chat one evening about that.
Yeah, not just you, like a bunch of people did. I think like it was a good kick in the pants. But the one thing I realized is this is gonna make me sound desperate in a weird way, and maybe I am for this game. But like, if this game was to just disappear, it'd be sad. You know what I mean? Like it's a good game. Yeah, it's like Minecraft. If Minecraft died before it was like, if you were in Minecraft in 2008 when it was a tech demo, there was a lot of sketchy times where it almost died.
Oh yeah,
like, there was. And could you imagine a world without that game nowadays? Like it would be a weird gaming situation. So
absolutely. I'm a year one Eve player, and so I've been that game's been dying for what, they're up to 20 years now.
Minecraft. Sorry, World of Warcraft's been dying since it was invented.
It's just and it's just there's always going to be a certain group of folks who, for whatever reason, and I don't want to sound patronizing when I say this, bring the issues they have in the real world with them into the gaming space, and they can't put the two down, and they hurt themselves and others around them, and it's unfortunate. And I really hope those folks can find a place that's going to be happy. And if this podcast shines a light in the right direction for them, that's part of why I want to participate. Because most of the people I've spoken to on my own live stream, because I have had people literally come into a live stream where I was doing some mining or something, and the first words they typed in my chat channel weren't even hello. It was, why are you still playing this dying game?
Yeah, I get that a lot, actually. The people I hit up that used to be legends in this game that were, some of the head runners of Legion, or, the prospectors, or like, some of the big players in this game that like you thought would never quit. Like when I hit them up to try to talk to them about what they would like to see different in DU so we could have a conversation about it, that's the reaction I'm getting right now. And I was there for maybe 4 months, and this would have been when the wipe was announced, right? Like in beta. So that's where my anger came from. Now, to put that into perspective, going back to like bringing real life into the game, like that was like COVID times when things were rough. I think a lot of people, this game, it kind of suffers from in real life bad timing, and then also like I'm not going to be completely cuddly about this. Like some of the decisions that were made were not the right ones, but you can't never do the right thing in a gaming like especially a game like this that's so broad. Like you're going to do something you think's amazing and somebody else's, or the majority of people might hate it. So like you can't really, there were some things that were done wrong, but like at the same time, like I said, you just can't change that. But I think what made it worse, just to kind of go back to what you're saying, was like the timing. A lot of people brought that into the game and used it as an outlet because they spent so much time on it, because we had nothing but time on it. So like, yeah, no, I love that like whole like conversation there.
Yeah, and let me throw in my 2 cents there. So I'm coming from a position where, like, as soon as I found this game, it had everything I wanted. quite frankly, I just wanted everybody to get out of my way, and that's what the
Mhm.
game provided. It's just it's literally Blender, except it's a game. Just so
Mhm.
happens to be in the genre of space MMO.
Love
So
it.
when I'm in the game, I have zero cares about what NQ is doing or what players are happy or sad about because I'm having fun. And so
Mhm.
when people ask me why I play this game, it's like, well, what do you do for fun? Do you like that? Yes. Well, I like this. This is what I do for fun. So I don't have a long list of like things that I wish and that like need to change for me because I just I'm thinking about a game where I remember in New World I really got into it and then they changed the timers so took super long to get to like if you wanted to max out a crafting talent, and I decided then like, well, I'll still play but not as hardcore as I was because they just did a thing where I think my time investment is not, I don't have a good return, and then I just started playing something else. And so
Oh, absolutely.
so for me, I don't hold, I don't, I guess it's not, I guess I don't suffer from that affliction where I'm going to let something that I do in my recreation, some negativity seep in. There's enough things going on in life where when I sit down to have fun, I just have it completely. Luckily for me, and not luckily, I mean, I found the game I like. That's why I spend so much energy and time in this because I'm having fun when I'm here. And that's it. There's no other thing. I'm just having fun, man. So
And that is the best way to be.
I want to say that there's so many people that reach out to me, but like me in beta, you didn't hear from me much in beta. I just had my head down playing because I didn't care. I don't need a roadmap. I don't need an update. I don't need anything. I just need to have fun, and so I can do that here. But there's a ton of folks just like me who will never say anything. But man, I don't know how many of them there are, but it seemed to be a lot more than I thought. They're just like me initially, just a lone wolf, just out there having the most fun they can have in a game when they have time to play one. And so, yeah, man, I love it. Love the game. I'm glad you guys are here. I love the community. It's probably the best community I've been a part of, honestly, outside of my close friend circle when we used to play together, right?
Mhm.
But this is certainly an awesome community. So, on top of me having just the most fun in this game, it's also got the best community. So, like, oh man, I'm just so happy-go-lucky when I'm playing, guys. That
Mhm.
sometimes I feel like I cannot represent well the need of the community because I'm good. I'm always that guy like, yep, I'm good. Whatever, yeah, I'm good. So I'm kind of looking forward to, I don't know, talking more about what we could do to get more out of this game, you know? So,
It's
so anyway,
funny
there you
thing.
I
go.
love that. Yeah, I love that you say that because that's kind of our whole goal with this is to just get people to talk. Share your opinions, because like the roundtables, we kind of touched on this last week. I'm not going to get too big into it, but the roundtables that did happen were very, I guess, like niche. And it would be really cool to have a conversation where we can all just like talk. Just not insult each other or get mad at each other, but just have talks. It's a good thing.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to do this out here, Leroy. I don't know
Are we full of?
know what you just did to me
So,
there.
so one of the things you just looking at the view you got up in Starlantis, and I'm on the green ring,
Yeah.
and that's
Good
what
move.
yeah, I've been kicking with this for a while. And one of the first things I did was I built a cottage. Um, yeah, that was sort of my joke is I built myself a space cottage. And I remember shortly, the first game I really played that was sort of got me hooked on flight sims and everything in space was Elite Dangerous on a Commodore 64. Now that was the old wireframe game, the mail slot, the whole 9 yard. Great fun. Myself and my friends, we would get together. I have lousy eye-hand coordination. So I was good at figuring out all the stuff for the trading. One of my chums was decent at actually getting the ship through the damn mail slot. Another guy that we hung out with us was actually competent at the space battles. So we would just change who was in the chair depending what we were doing, and we'd all hang out and we'd kill a weekend playing Elite Dangerous together.
Very nice.
And so for me at least, coming back on this was this idea again, community, you know, doing stuff with folks. And I remember the first time I got the roof on the cottage and got out and was just doing something, and the lighting changed. The sun had just come up over the edge of the station. The lighting changed, and one of those things that kind of catches your attention. I looked around, and I realized that everything I was looking at around me had been built by a player. Just the original. All it was the original ring, the original spokes.
The green ring is what we're on right now. This is, I think, what you're talking about. The first ring was the green ring. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's the spot up there. That you can see the green ship park. That's my location.
we gotta look at the jungle real quick though. Sorry.
This thing's fantastic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So weird.
I was just gonna say, but
look at the interior though. Hold on, swerve and come back. I think your stream's a little behind, but come back.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The interior is so cool.
It's like there's 570 plant objects that they've got wedged in this place or something. Like the I can't remember who it was doing it, but
this was Colonel hired one of our station members to build this for him.
Yeah,
so this is like Colonel was one of the guys that helped me start the ring.
Yeah,
and then he had I'm trying to remember his name right now and I can't. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with that. But yeah, this guy just nailed it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. But he was complaining that basically he was doing all his work on a scrappy machine.
Yeah.
And he was saying he was lagging the hell out of himself by just the amount of plants he'd stuck in here. He was lagging his own machine out.
I actually get that review about the station a lot. That's actually why the blue ring is as big as it is because if you live on the blue ring, you'll never have that performance issue because it's outside of the load range.
Yeah.
You'll never load enough elements because elements are what cause that. So the voxels, if you get like inverted voxels and the chunk complexity like too high, it'll kind of like hurt your performance, but the elements are the biggest thing. Like my factories will just destroy your performance.
Yeah.
Is it true you can go higher than 100% on the chunk complexity?
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, I was always so scared of hitting that number. Like, oh no, I got to reduce some voxels.
So we got to stop at the orb shop here. It's gone. We lost the orb shop.
Oh man,
that's too bad.
But it was such a good shop. Anybody that's lived on the station knows the orb shop is where all those plants came from.
Mm-hmm.
PvP guys sold plants. If I could crouch like a Minecraft guy, I would right now.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fantastic. I don't know how much money I spent at the orb shop here, just because it was convenient. I remember the first fly-in that happened here. It was just you could basically go buy a blueprint and walk around the station, buy all the parts, build your ship, and leave.
Yeah, it still is like that, but I like some of the I am solely responsible for absolutely destroying inventory on all the shops on station because I built some ships, I went through some things, I may or may not have bought everything that was left. So,
yeah,
kind of put an influx into the.
Anyway, I know folks in chat are kind of getting tired of the introspection, so we'll move on, I guess.
Yep, sounds good to me. So we had some questions in the Discord that we wanted to talk about.
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right.
So are there any plans for PvE atmosphere combat, possibly against the aliens? So I was talking to NQ tonight, and they might hop in later. You know, it's kind of I know they're really tired right now. They've been busy. So if they do hop in later, we'll ask them that question. But from what I understand is that PvP within atmosphere technically right now is a lot of work. So that's probably something that we're going to see later on, but it won't be for, I'm going to say, at least a year.
So for those folks who have not tried DCS World, I strongly recommend you go install DCS World, and then you try and take off with a Mustang and fly inverted through a mountain range, and then get back to us and then it'll be really obvious to you just doing that one experiment why there is not going to be atmospheric combat anytime soon. It's a bloody nightmare. There are all kinds of games that do it badly. There's no point in having this one be another one. And I mean that. the nature of the because the game doesn't implement. Now, this is my opinion. This is nothing I've heard from Nova Quark. But because the game does not implement actual foil physics, everything is an approximation. And so there's a whole bunch of tactics that just don't work in atmosphere because the ships don't work like spaceships and they don't work like aircraft. And I think you just wind up burying an awful lot of ships into the side of hills. And again, because the first thing that any pilot understands is you need to fight at the top of a loop, and the problem with a loop is there's a bottom.
Yeah. And just to recap, like, you have a lot of experience with game dev stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know that. So that's why one of the biggest reasons why I love having you in this, because you're kind of newer to the game in a way, and you're also like experienced in the industry, and you know what you're talking about when it comes to the engine and coding and stuff, which is actually awesome. One thing I did want to ask though is that it would be really awesome to hear from some like, you know, people that we don't normally hear from. So God King, I see some comments on Swervin's stuff. If you want to hop in and talk to us, we're totally cool with that. And then we got Darth Chris as well. So like, if Darth Chris wants to jump in, you know, send us a message or send us your Discord and hop in. Let's have a chat. It'd be awesome to hear what you guys have to say, or if you guys have questions.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd
We'd
be
love
great
to
to have
talk to
God King. Well, it'd be great to have God King in here because he, as far as I know, that's Hawk from Legion.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And so
it'd be awesome to have them in here.
it would be remarkably valuable to get an actual PvP player to talk straight shit. Excuse me. Because that's the one vantage. Like, I joke that because of my Eve experience. I joke I'm a Care Bear, but I'm a lycanthropic Care Bear, which is to say, at random, I will show up with a battleship. Because that was what I used
at one point. I'm literally in one of the Legion orgs as like a higher up in one of my alts, and none of them know about it. And this is the first time I'm talking about it. So, like, yeah, am I a Care Bear?
Oh,
Yeah,
secrets.
100%. But yeah, like, honestly, I'm doing the whole no friendly fire thing. So let's do it.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to have.
We're all friends here.
Well, to me, I'm a firm believer, based on my experience in Eve and several other games, that PvP is an essential component of a community game. Again, we talked about the idea earlier that games are built out of communities, right? And you have to do something that's going to give, and if you're going to have a player-driven economy, which is a non-trivial piece of work, by the way. Eve does a great job. Pirates of the Burning Sea, if you haven't tried it, well worth a look. Flying Lab Software, I think it is. Again, full PvP environment, full player-run economy. And the reality is you can't do a player-run economy without PvPers. And those PvP, it's incredibly difficult because either that or you have to have arbitrary equipment breakage.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. Just quick break. Swervin, head over straight in front of you there, those two ships. Go to those. They're PvP ships from beta. So if the PvP guys want to see why I loved PvP, go to the center area. Back when shields didn't exist, I built some like destroyers that were like 11 meters of chromite. And
Where are we going?
The middle section. So the middle section on the station I just printed them. Yeah, honestly, I didn't know about the weight limit on PvE missions, so I was thinking like we'll do the hardest missions. I'll invite whoever wants to come and we'll do some. Because I miss these ships. These, like, I mean, they're not the most beautiful ships, but back if you know beta PvP meta, the Kratos was relatively decent. Before Element would kill your ship if you lost too many. Before shields, it was how fast you can go and how long you can do it for. So, yeah. Anyways, sorry, 902. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I figured if Swervin's just cruising around, you might as well. Look
I just saw BB Darth Chris commented like to see the servers improvements on the servers. So for those of you who do not know, I'm a software developer, and my actual specialization is basically building data centers. I've got also a background in telecommunications, and that kind of stuff. So I'm actually vaguely qualified to talk about this. So the problem is almost never going to be the server. And here's what I mean. So
Swerve,
NQ-Nyota
I'll get you set up.
a while
Sorry.
ago, huh?
Oh, I just
Oh,
gotta give Swerve and Perms the board chip. Sorry.
oh, that's awesome. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Those are brutes. Yeah. Those look like proper battleships. It's just unfortunate that those are all maneuvering engines and not guns.
They had guns. I spawned them
Yeah.
without guns because I didn't know what the meta for guns were yet. So I didn't want to
Yeah.
spawn them with guns that like from beta, right? Like it would.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
sorry. I'll
yeah,
Swerve
no
and I'll give
problem.
you Perms to go inside.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll be
So,
right back.
yeah. So the catch is that for a small hull, if you take the volume of the small hull, the X, the Y, the Z, you multiply them together, and then you multiply that by 4, because there's 4 of those per meter, and then you multiply that by 6, because that's the number of vertices, the number winds up 8 megabytes. So every small core, just to track all the possible voxels, is 8 megabytes of data. So if you put 2 small core ships side by side, your internet connection has to chunk back 16 megabytes of data in 1 second, preferably 1/20th of a second, or you're going to see lag.
that makes sense.
If so, now, so 16 times 20 would be 320 megabits. If you're doing 20 FPS, you have to have a 320 megabit network connection. If you don't have fiber, you don't have 320 megabit.
No.
So if you put 3 ships together, you're now up over 450 megabits. Do you see the problem? And these are for S cores. Keep in mind that every core is twice as big. But here's the problem, Darth Chris, is if you and I are both looking at the same thing, you and I actually, our computers are talking back and forth to each other, because if we're mining, right, and I have a small core ship and you have a small core ship, every time I swing my pick, my machine sends an update to the server, which sends an update to your machine saying he just changed something, and then your machine says, yep, got the change, and it sends back to my machine. But here's the thing, if I've got a potato, my machine then has to say, hang on, I'm still thinking about the last update. Could y'all stop moving? And that's what slows things down. That's not the fault of the servers, again. That's the fault of the player.
That also, just that's an easy
computer.
place to make people understand how the Amazon Web Services work. Every time that ask and call happens, that costs money for the dev system. So, like, if NQ made, like, let's say this game became $1 billion game, NQ could afford to put a server everywhere where it matters, so they don't have to use Amazon Web Services. But right now, the fact of the matter is the way the game works is it has a bunch of yes or no questions that it asks the Amazon Web Service, and then that goes back to the NQ servers, and they answer those questions. So that's kind of how the last changes over the last year since release and a little bit before beta, or into beta, I guess, kind of played into lowering the overhead for the server. So like a lot of for example, the mining in Planet thing, that was a big ask. That's a lot of yes or no questions. So just so people understand why some changes have happened over the last while that have lowered overhead, that's a big one.
Darth Chris, if you're flying half a ship, I would suggest you open a ticket with NovaQuark and ask them to help them troubleshoot, because I can hang out on places like Starlantis with 1,000 cores visible, and I'm running a 2070 video card on a 7-year-old CPU. So if you're only able to see half a ship, you have a problem with your. My suspicion is you have a serious issue with your installation, and I'd probably just reach out to NovaQuark and ask them to give you a hand.
Oh, a big thing for that actually was the deleting cache from your launcher. So in the launcher, like a lot of people know this, and if you've done this, I'm sorry, but if you haven't done this and you're having issues with DU, this could be any issue of any kind, usually with voxels. Definitely like top right corner of your launcher, there's going to be like a drop down menu. Just go delete cache. And that will solve a lot of those issues. And then like 902 said, if you're having that issue and you've done that, then definitely contact NQ. I can tell you right now, though, they're going to ask you to reinstall the game. I mean, it's just kind of the go-to for,
yeah.
Yeah, so like do that first. Do everything you can. Don't reinstall Windows. I don't think for any game. I don't care what game it is. I don't care what the problem is. Any game that tries to ask me to reinstall Windows to fix a problem is just not right. So just reinstall the game, though. It's not a big game. It's if you got decent internet, it shouldn't take.
Have I? No, I have not seen Big Bertha. And I'm literally halfway between Mattis and Starlantis right now. So,
Are you on your way out here? Flying
Yeah.
from Mattis? Nice. It's a
Yeah.
long drive.
Slovenia should be good to go to. By the way, sorry it took me a little
thanks,
longer
man.
than I thought. I had to do it
That's
on
all
two
good.
different orgs. I forgot I had the Ghost on a different org.
I floated off now. I gotta get my bearings. Here we go.
yeah.
Take your time. No rush.
Hang on a second. Turn and burn.
The Nyx is also really cool too. And if you really want to check out the Asterisk is my mega hauler I go to Aegis with, so that thing can haul like 40 million liters of ore.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
I love
brutal.
it.
Yeah, it's huge.
I honestly fill it up regularly. I had to do a I've been okay. I haven't been doing this regularly recently, but like for about 8 months, I was supporting the T1 ore market at 12 liters or 12/liter.
Yeah,
I stopped.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah, you stopped and the market collapsed. I noticed that.
That was honestly a strategic move on my part because I knew it was going to do that, and then I wanted cheaper ore, so I was like, I'll just put up 10 million liter orders at 5 a liter. And
Mhm.
honestly, like I think in the last 2 weeks I've sold, I bought, sorry, like 6 million liters of T1 ore across all four
Yeah,
at 5 a
Um,
liter, which is like 6 or 3 below, depending.
yeah. So I had done the math when I was on Alioth that the break even for most low skilled miners is right around 7.25. By the way, the only people who are going to be able to compete at 5 are the real big organizations who are
That's
going to
what I
have
did.
4s and 5s across the swing.
They're the only
So-
ones that are going to want to fill those million liter orders. Like the highest order I've gotten in the last three weeks is like somebody's bought, I guess, or sold to me, I guess. Would be I think it was 2 million liters, and then it's like averaging like I'll get like low end ones, so I'll get like 20,000 liters here and there, and I think it's like a guy that's gone to an asteroid that doesn't want to go to Alioth to sell it, you know, like.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's me hauling stuff out of Mattis and not wanting to go all the way to Alioth. So I stop in mid ground and sell it there, and I pay attention to what the market currently is doing. And if the numbers are okay, then otherwise I put up a counter offer.
Yeah, so like we're seeing Darth Chris talk about mining T1 ore to sell is a waste of time right now, and honestly, he's not wrong. I was just about to bring that up for a guy like myself that. Like, I go out to asteroids for fun to mine T2, T3, anything more than T1, but I buy T1 ore. So, like, I was buying, when ore went below 13 a liter, I bought all of it, because I was like, this is valuable to me, right? Like, this is actually, seems like a good deal. And then, oh, that's weird. Hold on, Swervin, you can't get in that ship? That's weird. You should be able to get in that one.
I'm bouncing around out here.
Yeah, I did some core changes. Anyways, yeah, so long story short, like there's really no way to make T1 ore more valuable other than increasing the player base. The use of T1 ore. So
Yes.
you know, you could try to make it so that people have to build more things, but there's already a lot of things in the game. So you could change it so that everything's 2 times more expensive to make
Right.
when it comes to ore, but you're still going to run into that problem where I have 1,000 elements and I'm going to sell them for whatever I feel is a good profit. So, and my 1,000 elements is not that big. Like there's some orgs out there that have 10, 15,000. So,
Yeah. Zeef has got an absolutely ridiculous factory and is growing daily.
I love it. I love seeing big factories grow. Okay, you should be able to get on all ships now. Sorry about this, Orvin.
Thanks.
My bad.
So how do you guys feel about the economy? How about we talk about the economy just a little bit? I hear people. Well, let me ask you guys. Do you guys think the economy is healthy? What do you think?
Okay.
I think
so.
Sorry.
But go ahead, mate. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just from my experience, I think it functions, but it requires that you have this the supply and demand. So like, I was demand for the longest time. Sorry, and then the supply. I mean, the supply's still there, so we have a lot of supply, but not a lot of demand. So the price is low. which in any market, that means the market's working. But that's for ore, because like when it comes to elements, and this is just a function of DU, because if I think a lot of people really value the idea that they can just make things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it gets into like, how do we encourage people to want to buy the higher end, harder stuff to make? So like back to last week when I was talking about possibly increasing your speed per quality of engines. So like say you have basic engines, you have a 20 kiloliter ship, like the Asterisk can only go 20,000. That's as fast as it can go. The Kratos right there is a 20,000. That one you're looking at can only go about 20,000. It's heavy. It's like 7K kiloton, right? But like say I had exotic engines. Say I had the same amount of engines I have right now, but they're all exotic engines, like the hardest ones you can do. Maybe it goes 35, 40,000. You know, that would give people a little bit of encouragement to want to buy that stuff, which would, I think, because it's so hard to make those factories. You need alien cores to get exotic weapons and armor and all that stuff, right? Like, and engines and stuff. Like, if you create a reason for people to want to buy that stuff instead of make the factory for it, I think that's a big deal. It's like the cores are, I think, a great example of this right now is like, I built a space core factory because it was worth my time, because I had to build 1,000 large space cores for the expansion that we're planning to do to the station. And if I was to buy those, it would have cost me 10 times as much as it would to just make the factory and build it myself. So I built the factory. Could have I gone and bought those space cores if I was just buying like 50 or 60 of them? Yeah, easily. I would have been the better idea, because building the factory would have been 10 times more expensive. But it was like a 200 million cheaper for me to build the factory and then the cores than it was for me to actually buy the cores. So now I have the factory and the cores, right? So like there was a strategy there that I played with that, and the cores I think are a good example of why, if you were to try to make the categories of engine from basic to exotic have some sort of benefit to getting the better engines other than just acceleration. Like I call it specific impulse. If you follow SpaceX or rockets or like Blue Origin, or if you're just a rocket nerd like I am, like specific impulse is just how fast the gas comes out of the engine and how fast the engine goes because of it. So that's kind of where I was thinking like a good improvement to DU would be just to increase that specific impulse per quality of engine.
Yeah. So, oh, am I gonna hit the station? No, I think I just missed it.
Are you
Yeah.
making your way over? I see
Yeah.
Nyota
Yep,
out
that's
here.
me.
That
I'm
is
just-
Nyota.
Yeah, I'm just doing a braking burn here by the station. Yeah, I'm doing a bit.
Are we gonna witness death? Should I pay attention?
No, I actually did manage to miss.
Okay.
You know, 2 kilometers out on a 40 on an 87 SU run. Yeah,
That's
and
not bad.
I'm using Albatross, and it's not normally a HUD I would use for long distance space flight. But so I'm a bit of a sook. I really do like the Aviator HUD for the long distance stuff, because it feels very much like flying an Airbus, which is something I'm used to because the flight simming.
Very nice.
So, so my thoughts on the economy. The first question is what economy? And the reason is because everyone says economy, but what they really mean is an American-style capitalist economy. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's an important distinction because there's about 5 different ways to run an economy. I actually think that, and this is, I don't know if it gets into friendly fire, but as a game writer, I don't think that the capitalist economy supports the game story very well. So I don't think the economy's ever worked well for this game.
Really?
But, yeah. I can go into a whole discussion about that another time if you like.
Actually, that's what I was just about to ask. Is like, could you define what you mean by that? Because
sure.
I like the idea. I definitely like
the
thought on that. Yeah, it's a good brainstorm to have. I think that's why we're doing what we're doing.
All right, so here, let me just back the truck up. And again, so those of you, I've been writing since 16 years old. Everything from fanfic to an Amazon bestseller. All right, I've been at this a bit. I'm also a game writer, in terms of, again, fanfic, as well as, modules and entire game worlds for a company in Montreal. Okay. So I think about this stuff, whether I want to or not. It's almost reflexive. I'm a world builder. It's one of the things I get a kick out of. So the story is that Earth gets worse than nuked by a neutron star. By the way, absolutely brilliant piece of writing, because there's just no coming back from that. There is not going to be any Captain Harlock homecoming. There is no voyage to the lost Earth. A near miss on the solar system with a neutron star would do it. So brilliant, neatly ties that up. It's 10,000 years later. We are potentially the only Ark ship that made it. We don't know what happened to the other ones. We land on a brand new planet. Everybody has to pitch in for the survival, literally, of the human race. So what are we going to do? Turn on capitalism and immediately promote piracy. Because capitalism, by definition, involves an uneven distribution of resources to the benefit of some. Now, that's practically the definition. Because the idea is that it incentivizes levels of innovation that other types of economic engines don't. There's a huge payoff if I manage to do the impossible. Under other economic systems, I don't have that motivation. But it's a lousy survival system. It's an absolutely lousy survival system. So to me, it would have made much more sense if the entire time I, as a new player, was hanging out in the blue zone, in the lake, whatever you want to call it, the safe zone. Most of what I was doing didn't involve money at all. Because everything I'm doing is probably a mission of some kind, authored by Ophelia, with the idea of attempting to not have the human race go extinct.
So,
now,
so to touch on that really quick
yeah.
at that point was just like the in-ground mining, and I know why that isn't in the game anymore, but that was kind of what drove that early gameplay loop for most people, was like, I can just like go to Alioth, land a small-ass ship that I built and threw some containers on, and like a hover ship. Like most people back in the early game didn't have a spaceship, they had this hover ship. And it was like a hauler that would like, they'd go out in the middle of nowhere and mine some ore and come back to Market 6 and sell it. And it was actually like, honestly, my favorite time of DU, and I hate saying this because I love DU the way it is now, but my favorite time was that time before I was a billionaire, before I had this giant situation, before like I could do it. I like to joke I've unlocked creative mode for DU, but like before that was like my favorite time with DU, was just being able to have that like resource gathering. I could just like, I could get off work, go grab some ore, go to the market, sell it, buy some engines, make a ship, right? Like that was kind of the thing. So like, I don't know how we bring that back. I was always thinking like, you know, the surface ore that we used to have, like the little nodes that would spawn on the surface. So like not the little itty bitties, but there was like these like, almost like you'd find in an asteroid, but they were on the surface. And that's what, I never dug into the ground. I just flew on this hover ship and found those and like mined like 60,000 liters in a 4-hour period just because it was fun, right? Like, I love that idea though, because like having that value in doing what you're doing, and it's something that like, you know, Darth Chris was just talking about and Orbity was just talking about too, is like, you know, like having something to spend your money on or your time that is valuable. I think that's awesome. Sorry to interrupt you. I just had to break in there because like the whole mining thing in the ground was just like the best time for DU.
Now I'm coming in. So, I got two things. One, and I'll just say this: I hated mining underground. I was so happy as a builder when they did the auto miners, man, because now I didn't have to spend hours, you know, down in the bottom of some cave. I could just come home, grab my ore, or have already started my factories to make my voxel to start back. I could just come home and build, you know. And so there you go. There's the counter. Which I know there's two camps there. There's some folks who just stopped playing after that because that was their thing. So I totally get that, but just wanted to throw in the other perspective. But I want to get back to the economy. Because so I'm one of these guys, again, happy-go-lucky. I don't care about the lore, right? I'm just here, man. Hey, whatever, Ark ship. But you value the economy being tied to the lore. Is that what I'm hearing? That you
Yeah.
value if there would have been some correlation?
Right. So to me, the way it should have been, like, and I don't get me wrong, you need a capitalist economy in a game like this. It just doesn't. But for a game for the lore here, it just doesn't belong where they have it. It would be an excellent way to justify all of the worlds
Lethal.
outside the blue zone. So the capitalist economy is for everyone who looks at it and says, I don't want to put up with Ophelia anymore. And they boot themselves out to Sakari. They head themselves out to Teoma. All of these places, they run the risks, they reap the rewards, and you facilitate player-to-player economy under those conditions. Because now, people are going to go, it's worth me going out there. Because for some people, the Care Bears, okay, I'm, by the way, right with you, I'm right with you, Swervin. I just want to build stuff. I just want to build cool stuff, and I want to have my voxels, and I want to build my pretty toys, and I want to have pretty views of planets. I want to fly cool ships into sunrises.
Singing my song right there, man. Yeah.
Alrighty. So that's what I want to do. I don't want to have to fight the economy. Right now, I owe SVEA better part of 25 million, and I'm probably going to have to invest another 100 million in gates for no other reason than that's the aesthetic I want. There is no way for me to do things that is going to look cool and get those gates. I can't spend n amount of hours running missions to rack up credits with Ophelia, and as a result be subsidized in building a space station out in my little corner to advance the human race's survival. That's just not happening in this game. As someone who's
so you're telling me you don't have a Sakari space station right now?
I couldn't be bothered.
Okay, sorry.
I haven't even got the one over Mattis finished yet.
Oh, okay.
All right. I mean, but the reason is because I have to keep taking these irritating breaks to fly around to all of these planets to play the capitalist Sisyphus game. I just want to build stuff.
Yeah, I see. That's kind of where the station's idea came into play, was to try to give people that place to buy those things. And
and there are some people who absolutely groove on the actual fight with the economy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the numbers, and I think that is great. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Darth Chris says, so mind your own resources. I do that.
Yeah, we do. Honestly, Darth, to be honest, the 100% of the green ring, the first ring that Starlantis came from, was 2 people, maybe 3 people. The third person was kind of a part-timer, just mining asteroids. Our goal was to build a ship, and then we built the green ring, we sold it, and then whatever people spent on the green ring, 100% of that went into the blue ring. And then the blue ring's products, whatever we sold from that, went into ore to, build the red ring. And then the red ring honestly was a flop. It was such a big flop.
Well, hold up.
But here's the problem. Okay, so Darth says, so keep doing that and don't care about the economy. Well, that's great, but I want to build large gates. I only need 4 of them. I don't want to have to build all of the infrastructure to build 4. I want 4 large gates. I don't want the infrastructure for 4 large gates. I want 4 large gates.
Yeah, and I want to buy I want to buy T1 ore, because if you're on an asteroid mining T1 ore, it's useless. We didn't mine T1 ore. We mined
in your corners, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
I thought this would be a great time to interject. I'm sorry that I haven't participated much. As you can tell, things are going on, and it's kind of late, and I'm tired. We had roofers, blah blah blah. Anyways,
welcome.
Don't. Let's not go there.
Gotta give him
I wanted to give him a kick in the ass. But anyways,
how you doing?
What I wanted to say was, I wanted to interject because I can't resist. I wanted to tell a little story. When I started playing DU, I was playing with Anti-Gravitas, NQ-Anti-Gravitas, and I did something silly. I can't remember what I did, but I usually do silly things, and I just thought I would tell you this little story because you guys are all in your corners and you all have your thing, and much appreciated. I'm not judging anybody. And anyways, I did something silly. You guys don't even want to know, but anyways, and And yeah, you probably do. And anti-gravitas was my guide for the day or something like that. And I was embarrassed because I was like, oh gosh, I feel like such a noob. Oh geez, what the heck am I doing here? I bet nobody does that. And he looked at me and he basically said, "You do you, just
Yeah,
do you." And that's what DU is about, if you ask me. Do you do
I
what
agree.
you like to do? Find other people. If you don't like digging a hole, find other people. There's people that like digging that hole.
Very true. It's very true.
If you don't like building a ship, I'm one of those people. I guess I like digging holes, not really, but if you don't like building ships, hey, you'll find somebody that can build a ship. I'm in that category. So to me, that's one of the amazing parts of DU. There's so many different aspects to it. And I'm not trying to be marketing or advertising or biasness. This is just from my experience in the game. But I thought that advice that I got from Anti-Gravitas was right on. You do you. And
I remember
I
him like saying
There it
that back
is.
in beta quite a bit in the Discord too. He'd hop into the Discord and this is all he'd say because he'd never participate in the Discord because it just wasn't his forte. But the one thing he would pop in for would be like just DU it.
yeah,
I love
by
it.
the
Yeah.
way, I completely agree with that. The point of a recreational game is to have some recreations, to have fun,
That's
right? Yeah, it's a QED kind of statement. The point I was trying to make was that from a lore perspective, I think it would be easier for a lot of it would make more sense within the context of the lore to have partitioned the economy into capitalist is sort of the advanced economy, because if what players are really here for is the entry level aspects of the game, there is a barrier that gets in their way, and I'm based on conversations I've had with players that they get stuck in a game loop of being tied to Alioth, drilling holes in the ground, desperately trying to make a little bit of money to build stuff. What they really want to do is build stuff.
Yeah. So
And
that
so,
I think the contrast there would be if because this was a discussion we had during that time when you could do that. Is
yeah.
that having a way to pull ore out of the ground without having to go into the ground
Mhm.
probably would have worked well with that system. So like I loved digging in the ground, but it would have been nice to like log in the afternoon when I was working, or I guess during COVID I wasn't working, but I'd be riding dirt bikes or doing whatever, right? Like I lived on a farm and like rode freestyle motocross professionally, so like it was like I was either on the dirt bike, I was working the farm, or I was playing DU during COVID. And that was like if it was cool to like the days where I couldn't play to come back and have an auto miner pull out the ore for me, like it was cool. So like when auto miners came around, I'm still for them. I'm just like I don't know, I don't need them now. So
All right.
sorry.
I haven't yet got to I haven't yet been
train
able to
wrecked you.
actually explain what I'm trying to get to 4 times now. So let's just move
Okay,
on
go
and
for
talk
it, go
about
for it.
some.
No,
No,
What
go
were
for
we
it. No,
talking
I'll shut
about?
up. I'll shut up. No, we're talking about the economy and how we need to like kind of change how it works just so that it
I
works a
didn't.
little bit better for the game.
I
Yeah.
didn't say. I don't think it's a need, and there's going to be a lot of folks
It's
who.
an idea.
Yeah, but like I say, it just for me as a writer and as a world builder, the way the economy is written into the game for a new player is nonsensical, and I think it imposes a limitation that there's probably a couple of good lore ways around that would allow players to get hooked on the building aspect, because you will get some people who are going to want to dive into this game all the way from day one. And for lack of a better way of
That was
putting
you.
it, there
That was
aren't
you.
there are no barriers to those people.
Yeah.
Very true.
And so I'm, I literally landed on Alioth on my first my second attempt to get out of Haven's atmosphere. I landed on Alioth with a backpack.
I remember that.
And set up a mining rig, and then went, just picked a random hex, flew north, looked around, and said, "Oh, this place is prettier." Went back, pulled up the terrain unit, and dropped on the new location, having no clue, by the way, that terrain scanners existed. So completely blind shotted where it was, because it was pretty. It had a really nice sunrise. That was my criteria for where I was building.
It's a nice
And-
criteria.
And I start literally with a backpack, built a complete factory that, and, spaceships and blah, blah, blah. Basically, literally started with a broken ship because I crash landed, and a backpack. And yeah, okay, cool. Now I own a space station. This game's awesome. But not everyone's a zealot like me. This is the point I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, so just to kind of touch on, like, I think, like, the middle ground that used to exist that actually, like, a lot of people back in beta didn't really like was the bots. So you could, like, sell ore to a bot, which sustained the T1 ore market at, I think it was like 26 per liter. Or
Yeah, which is way too high, I think.
Yeah, back then, like, during beta, you kind of wanted people to have Quanta because you want, like, but it kind of played a weird situation because it allowed, like, looking at, because, like, I'm just looking at Darth Chris's comment now, right? Like, have NQ write in a bit of a lore that says the subsidized market sellers so they can, like, in other words, what he's saying is, like, write in some lore that it makes sense so that when NQ buys ore from you, it makes sense, right? So, like, for example, say Ophelia needs ore to keep the Arc ship alive. You could sell your ore to the Arc ship for 7 a liter, whatever it costs, like whatever the base cost of selling your ore is, so that sustains the market. That might be like a middle ground, sort of, that's already existed in the game. But then you're also gonna, like, go back to that whole where people are like, well, the bots, right? But the bots were weird because you could sell that ore anywhere. You didn't have to go somewhere to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe have the Arc ship somewhat, like a landing pad at the Arc ship. This is like totally spitballing right now, but like have the landing pad at an Arc ship. You land near the Arc ship. You sell your T1 ore to the Arc ship for 10/liter, just to make it. I think 10/liter is a really good price. Like, I was buying it at 12/liter and thought I was getting a deal. So
that's the number I had worked out, because, like I say, all my numbers when I'm crunching, because again, death by spreadsheets. I will threaten people. I will threaten people with spreadsheets during my live streams. I had worked out for an unskilled player, because that's your worst case scenario. Everyone was talking to me for a while about this idea that a new player can't catch a break. There was no way for a new player to make money. So I said, okay, so what are the actual numbers? The break even at 450 liters per hour. All right, between all your various miners.
Oh, that's the mine. Okay, yeah.
No skills, and no calibrations. All right. Just let the miners run, because that's all I want. All I want to do is build stuff, so let the miners run. You need 450 liters an hour at 7.25, and that's your break even. So 10 is the 30% profit. That's, even under the most obscene of capitalist systems, is a ridiculous amount of profit. 10's a good number, really is.
But it's a video game though, so we should be like the new player. Like T1 ore to me, it's just this thing I get. Like, I'm literally stocking up on it so that I can, like, quadruple my profit if the game explodes because of the profit.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, when you're talking about. Let me just tell you a story I know. I got a friend who just started playing, a real life friend, just started playing. Knows nothing. I didn't give him any lowdown on what to do. He's the kind of guy, he can just figure that out. And he sells hematite. He's bought a few pretty cool blueprints. He started at the UEF store. He then started to buy other player created ships. So we're talking about the economy. To me, I've not tried to play the economy, but there are people who definitely make their game loop is just playing the economy. And I have like a certain cross section of goods that I track, or things like white lumi. I always pay attention to the price of white lumi. We all do this organically, right? We pay attention to the price of warp cells. Some of us, back before Sakari, we paid attention to the price of gold. But it seems to me like when I hear folks talk about it and they say it needs to be better, where is it broken? I'm curious where you got, like, where is the economy here breaking down? Because it seems to me like people sell it at a price, people buy it at a price. So
I think we just don't have enough people that are buying and selling things right now, and this kind of plays into the whole PvP situation too. The PvP guys aren't happy because there's nobody to fight, right? So how do we all work together here as a team to, like, try to get what we all want? And I think it's honestly just showing off what DU is good at, because it's good at a lot of things. I think a lot of people that really love this game have some animosity towards it. I was definitely one of them. But there's a lot of really great things about this game. The building for us is obviously, I think, the reason why we're all still sitting here talking about it in a positive light. It's obviously doing a lot of things really well. The economy, I mean, it works well when it's working, and for it to work, there has to be supply and demand. I mean, it's an economy. You have a lot of supply right now and just not a whole lot of demand. So I think like our biggest thing would be to try to show off what the game's good at. And the game's good at a hell of a lot of things, and that's the first time I swore tonight, which is like you listen to last week's, you know.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, for me, objectively, if somebody were asking like, how's the economy swerving in this game, could I get into it? If I'm one of those guys that, I don't know, you pick your game, you sit at the market and you play the market, I would say you would probably have fun in Dual Universe playing this market.
I would tend to agree. I have a really odd way of judging the economy, actually, and it's actually because I keep going out to Aegis.
Is that Aegis, how you say it? I don't know how to say it.
It's Aegis.
I've been saying Aegis.
It's Aegis.
It's
Aegis. It's Aegis.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Aegis Station. And the way I judge the economy is none of the work shacks in the cloud around Aegis have gone away. In fact, over the past little while, people have started putting a single core, XS core, with a container and a jump pad on it, a VR pad, so they can go play the market at Aegis. Now, Aegis is inconvenient. Okay.
Is it for that reason, or is it just because it's so far?
What I mean is Aegis is inconvenient. If it was easy, if you were talking about a market that's easy to play, that's Market 6.
For sure. Landing, yeah, it's like access. Yeah, right. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. Like when I take my big ass ship there and try to load up 40 million liters of shit, it's actually kind of hard to get in and out of it. Like it'd be cool to have something like get like Geo's like spaceport built in space. Like make it. Not to hate on Geo's spaceport, it's amazing on the planet, but if you put that in space, it's not going to work. But like something that has the access and exit.
Yeah. So the fact that Aegis Station seems to have more players gravitating to it, doing things that are only focused around playing the market at an inconvenient location, tells me the market's plenty healthy.
I think that's also because of the local access to Alioth as well, but it is the landing situation. Well, to be honest though, I go to Aegis because for a guy that lives in space, it's easier for me to go there with my 40 million liter ship. Sorry, it's like I don't even know. I haven't checked the weight, but like yeah. So like I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, but the point is that if you fly to Aegis, if you want to buy something on Alioth, you're still 40 SU away from it. You're either going to have to pay someone to bring it to you, or you're then going to have to go there anyway. And yet people are still expanding their business holdings at Aegis. That tells me that it's worth their time to do that. That's not a faltering economy. So that's my point.
I've got a question for you guys. It's sort of on topic, off topic, but it's on topic. So this is a fun question. I'm going down the fun road, please. I'm not going to be able to stay here late tonight. The question I have is, you log into the game, right? You get through, the screen loads in. What's the first thing you do when you appear in Helios? What's the first thing you do every time you log in? Do you look at your friends list? Do you look at the market? Do you look at what you've sold? What do you do?
My first thing is I check my linked container, see what I'm hooked up to see what I was doing last. Like where did I leave off?
You go down memory lane.
That's right.
That's how you figure out what you were doing, where you left off, right?
That's right.
That's an interesting way. Well, how about the rest of you guys and people in the stream too? I'm curious. Because again, we do you our way, right? Everybody does their own way. So what's one of the priorities as soon as you log in for the first time of the day? Now, if you log in several times, that changes. But the first time, tomorrow morning, tonight, whenever it is, the first time you log in for the day, what do you do?
I think like for me, there's two things I do. So typically, I'll walk around and check my factory first because I'm a big factory guy.
So you check your industry. So you make sure there are things running.
Yeah, so I'll do like the schematics first because it's just easy. Like Control K, check schematics, make the schematics I need. I'll run to the factory, make sure that like I'm actually super happy that you guys fixed the bug with the transfer units because that was a big deal that I didn't even ask about, and you guys just like were on it. So obviously there's somebody that's playing industry inside NQ, and I love that. And yeah, so it was just making sure that like functions, and then typically I'll get into like the social aspect of things. I'll hop in general chat, see who's on, see what's going on, and then Discord, do the community. Like there's a checklist that I go through, and then like I'll usually go into whatever I've got time left for, so like building a ship or something like that, or like right now actually I'm building a factory for Inconel. And this is something that me and PE need to talk about later because we were going to do this and we forgot. But we were talking about PvE and like what's the best way to go.
You went way down the rabbit hole. So what
Big
again is
time.
the first thing you did?
It's going to be industry, but
industry.
industry
Okay.
that applies to the whole spiel.
Gotcha. Okay. Who's next? First thing you do. What's the first thing you check when you go into DU? Do you check, industry is valid? Swerven gets his memory back of what he was doing when he left. And who else out there? I see some people talking about checking ore, of course, their factories and schematics and anything else. Do you guys ever check the market? Do you check what you've sold, or are you guys too good for that?
I'm not good enough to sell at the market. I'll just let you know. I tried, and I was so excited to get back in and see, did it sell? Did it sell? And yeah, it's tough out there. I just stick to missions. They scare me off.
Yeah, with me, if it's Monday, the first thing I do is press the N key. Because I usually post all my sales on Friday. So usually by Monday, there's a bunch of stuff I need to check on sales. If it's any other day of the week than Monday, this is probably going to sound, like I say, my sweetheart will confirm, I'm a drama queen. The first thing I tend to do is look around and just enjoy the view.
That's kind of a romantic thing, actually. You're just taking it in.
I am perpetually struck by the idea that every time I look around, everything I'm looking at, except under particular circumstances, was built by players. And that was something that was a holy grail for me since about 1984. I cannot vocalize, I cannot articulate cleanly well enough how much that DU existing has been literally something I've been waiting for half of my adult life. In terms of that moment, that view right there that Swerven's got up on his screen. Everything you're looking at there was built by players. That was something that just was not possible before DU at any scale. Like I run, my sweetheart's a huge fan of Minecraft. And if you've ever tried to run a Minecraft server, there's a long list in the configuration file of all the things you should never do in Minecraft. Because if you do it, it'll just crash your server.
World.
I was just gonna say, and DU casually says, yeah, whatever, get it out of my way. Hold my beer.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what this game's like marketing campaign should be. Like there's 10,001 ways to play this game, hold my beer and watch.
And so for me, the first thing I do is I just go, wow, this actually bloody exists. Awesome. And then usually I find some pixel I've screwed up and go fix it.
Right. Yeah. Of course, it's always that one little pixel that's misaligned, and you're like, no.
Yeah. The never-ending war.
I just spent like most of the week spawning. So this week, I guess, like the first thing I did every week was just check my industry, just so I could spawn in a bunch of beta ships because I felt like they would be relevant in today's PvP class. So Swerven, I told you I did this earlier. I messed it up, but I have you set up. So if you want to check out the PvP ships, go for it. But yeah, that was like, yeah, honestly, like the little mini voxels are like fixing things that I spent the last like long time when that little extra time I have at the end of the day to like fix the interiors of the ships because I found like when applying the beta PvP or beta like blueprints to release. There's I don't know, maybe I just remember those ships being a lot cleaner than they were, but there's a lot of things I've fixed recently, and it's been actually kind of fun to do that. So.
Well, I appreciate the honesty, guys. I like asking that question because you don't really think about it. Especially if you play every day, you're just like, you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think it's important because one of those things, if you're part of any fandom organization for long enough, is you'll find out that almost every fan heard their favorite line differently in any given movie. And games like this inspire a lot of emotion because everything you're doing is, I'm not going to call it indelible. Nothing is, but it's as close to most people will get to indelible. It's literally leaving a mark where the community can see it. And there's a lot of emotion that goes into that. And I think not enough developers are even vaguely aware of that, based on some of my experiences I've had in gaming. So it's a good question.
Yeah,
Just,
like
know,
Yeah, for sure.
It's a daily thing because most of us all log in every day, play, and we do our thing. So it's an interesting thing to see what exactly is the first thing that we do. I mean, everybody has running around in circles is actually plausible. I've done that once or twice. Where you're like,
I do
you
that a
just
lot.
and you just run around and you go, oh, this, oh crap, that, oh man, you're like, oh,
Built a
come
ring
on.
station. It's kind of what you do.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, yeah, and someone whose name is Orbidity running around in circles makes a certain amount of sense.
It does. But I love that space station. We've gone on it a couple times on our tours that we've done. So
yeah, the IC space station is actually worth mentioning too, because those guys have done a great job there too. It's I think if there was like the two biggest space stations in the game, the IC one, I think I forget what it's called, but like it is such a cool place because the detail involved is wild there. Like we got some detail, but I can't take credit for the detail. I mean, like the ring itself is pretty basic.
It's still pretty immense, shall I say?
For me, they're particularly because of the way that voxel-based systems render stuff. I do everything based on the 10-meter rule. Does it look good from 10 meters away? And the whole damn station looks good from 10 meters away. The whole damn station looks good from 10 kilometers away. On the odd time it renders at that distance.
The red ring, actually, I haven't talked about this yet because I know this is actually like a fairly hard ask for NQ, but like my pipe dream for DU would be to have these small cores load at the same distance as every other core. So that the red ring would load when you're sitting on the green ring.
I can see how you would like that, yeah.
But that's my, like, nobody else is gonna want that, right? Like, that's my selfish ask, so, like, I'll bring it.
As I said earlier, you do you.
I know. If I really wanted to be productive here, I could just rebuild the red ring with, like, a medium core ring around it. And I could do that right now. I could literally just go place down the cores and make them useless just so that it loads, but...
Yeah, that takes time, right? A little energy there.
It's not the time. It's actually the core. I'm worried about cores because, like, I have 1,500 cores that I can use, and I'm using 600 right now. And then the rest of the ring. So, like, the blue ring has a center core structure that's about, I think, 200 cores, and then every medium core off of those small cores is owned by a player, and I think there's 15 left that aren't owned by a player. So. Like
the only question I'm going to ask you is, how do you work on this thing without getting dizzy? Because I'm just flipping around crazy.
I have a stencil, actually. Okay, so I have to tell the backstory on this, and like, just because I love the Utopia guys, and I feel like they don't get enough credit for what they did in beta when it came to what they did. So when I built the original station, huge station in beta, I actually went to Utopia with a dynamic core. And at the time, you could just like park a dynamic core near something, and you could trace voxels. So I actually like stole the angles from Utopia to build this ring, because I was like, I could go do the math, and this is before ChatGPT. So like, I actually used ChatGPT to do the math because I could like, I mean, like, I'm good with math, but do I want to spend 20 hours doing the math to make sure that the ring on the blue ring is good? No, I can just ask ChatGPT to do it for me. So, long story short, I used ChatGPT for the blue ring, but the original ring came from Utopia, and I just traced it off of a dynamic core. I went to their place, placed it down, placed 2 voxels, used the angle tool, and boom, there it was. So
that's cool, actually.
Yeah, those guys did so. Yeah, those guys, like, honestly, that's I think when it comes to, what do you call it, like, capitalism, that was like the epitome of capitalism right there. It's like.
You go, Mr. Edison.
Yeah, exactly. I stole the angles from Tesla. Oh
Well,
man, such a legend.
hey, I just want to throw out there, we and this is fine, but we always commit to going for an hour, and we have just zoomed right by that effortlessly,
Oh,
which
already?
is. Oh man, we hit it 20 minutes ago, but so just throwing it out there, I'm down, man, to go for a little while.
I'm only half through my cup of coffee. I'm good for another half hour.
Yeah, I got a half bowl of hamburger helper left and about a half cup of coffee too. So
That
Actually,
sounds really healthy.
it
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah, I
really
know.
delicious. I'm not gonna lie.
But I'm not one to speak. I had my lunch at like 5 p.m. I didn't eat
Oh
lunch today, so
no.
I did one of those bad moves. Yeah.
Well, we got 21 viewers right now on Swerve and Stream. Let's hear some. What do we want to talk about right now? There's got to be some people that have ideas right now. I know we got Orbity, we got Darth Chris, Oriana's been talking about some stuff. We got Nyota actually in the chat. I didn't notice that until now. Taylor Bud, Taylor Bud's always there. So like, let's hear some.
Appreciate you
Like,
popping
anybody
in,
got
Taylor
anything?
Bud.
Ideas for what? Ideas for anything? Like, what do you got? What's something that you wish you could do in this game, or that you always thought would be useful, cool? What would be bad? Even maybe there's some bad things in this game you want to talk about, like that could happen. We're all about progression here, I guess.
If you could wave the wand, Taylor Bud, what would you do? You need more ships.
Well, I tell you what, I can fix you up with at least three blueprints.
Well, since we're talking about chips,
you need more
wanna check out
parking.
The Kratos there, like I got you set up for the Kratos. I'll show you how to get into it. I hide my entrances on PvP ships for a reason.
Mm-hmm. More events would be cool.
I would like
More
to
events
thank
would be
Taylor.
cool.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Taylor for an easy ask. He's gotten what he wanted. It's perfect.
300, not enough. Taylor.
Building his display pads. He's banned from buying more.
That's funny.
It's like, I need 1,000 L cores. Like, okay.
There's
An
never enough
event
chips, don't you
roadmap.
know?
Orby, that might. Who was talking about trying to make a calendar, right? We were talking about trying to make an event calendar.
We could use this podcast.
I'm on that.
facilitate
I'm actually
yeah.
on that, guys. I'm going to be hopefully making a community event calendar.
Oh,
of
very
some sort.
cool.
Oh, that's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Somewhere where we can have the NQ events, but also player events, so
Yes,
everybody has
that
a
would
place
be-
to find them. Because I know it's all mix and match. It's who you know and what you're looking at, and sometimes it's hard to know. Sometimes I'm like, what? There was that? Nobody told me. What's going on here? So I'm sure everybody else is the same way. So I'm trying to, I know that people will probably get a little ticked off at me, but it'll probably be forum based because Discord doesn't want different calendars and stuff. So
Yeah.
or we make a forum for the Discord or something like that we can put somewhere stationary. And the only problem with an events calendar is that events change. And if it's an NQ event, then that's fine. I can let everybody know what's going on if something changes. But if it's a player run event, that's a little more difficult. So.
Okay, so like for this spaceport, which is something that NQ could utilize as like almost like a Ophelia construct, even though it isn't. Starlantis is an easy location for that. I mean, the parking pads nobody uses them. I spent there's 200 large cores that made up the large the parking pads, and I think we used them once. There's 3 ships parked on them. So like if NQ needs locations to throw,
Parties.
a party, yeah.
Is that
Go
a
for
hint?
it.
Did I hear a hint?
No,
in there
use it.
somewhere?
Yeah, because I can tell you right now, Geo and IC are not gonna have a problem with you guys using the spaceport if they're not involved. Like if you guys just show up with an event on their spaceport, they're gonna be all over it. Like even if they're not into it, right? Like they're not gonna argue. And then if you just showed up at Starlantis with a fucking event, sorry, I swore again. I gotta stop doing that.
Oh my
But
god,
if you just,
I'm so offended.
I'm trying my hardest not to. It's so
Yeah.
hard for me. But if you guys just showed up and did it, I'm not gonna argue, right? You use use what's there. If you want Starlantis as an Ophelia construct, I give it to you.
To some degree, we do. We do our tours, our bus tours, as we always call them. That the bus kind of transformed last time into an air balloon ship, but a bus.
That's cool.
And we will have one coming up, most likely for our anniversary, so that we can see how things have progressed in a year, which is, I'm not officially announcing it yet, but I will hopefully soon. And so we'll get people to. I mean, I know that it's only a brief location stop a couple of times or something, but at least we get to showcase what's out there. It's
Yeah.
important.
My
I think
my sweetheart is not a DU player. She watches over my shoulder and my live
That's
streams and
awesome.
stuff like that. And she actually absolutely adores the bus tours.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice to hear.
that is, yeah, no, that winds up, if you folks have streamed a bus tour or whatever, we wind up watching it as our morning coffee. So
Nice.
yeah, it's a great vehicle, pun intended,
Uh-huh.
for showing off, both
Yeah.
the players and the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of places we don't get to see, right? I mean, sure,
yeah.
we got the curious ones, and you're in VR and you're looking at everything. But you know what? There's some pretty cool bases out there that don't even have a VR, and you have to
Hmm.
get there, and you don't know they exist, and you go, "Holy crap! Where did this come from?"
Yep.
Yeah, and I think
Well,
that's quite amazing.
Yeah, for
speaking
sure.
of the vehicles and the places, Geo is like the whole IC crew and the spaceport. They're amazing at running fly-ins, and I think it would be super sweet to have a contest on a fly-in where you design a ship for the next tour for NQ. So like the ships that you guys use and stuff like that, have players design a ship as a contest. So you'll have 50 options, and then the winner gets that ship to use in
So
the.
the next tour, that ship has the concept has already been handled, we'll say, uh, and is in getting designed currently. But I've always thought about doing something like that, having a shipbuilding contest for that tour, or have a couple of them so we could showcase the actual ship as well.
Yeah.
Because there's some amazing shipbuilders. We would just have to have some requirements, and uh, not go willy-nilly crazy, when
No,
you have
well, yeah.
40 people or 50 people on the ship and live streaming it, and we don't want to crash. We've got a
No.
good record so far, so.
Yeah, set the limits, and then Geo. Talk to Geo. Honestly, the guy is such a great guy for just
Oh,
like
I know
coordinating.
Geo. I know
Yeah, I know
Geo,
you
don't
do.
worry. But yeah, so
I feel
but
like
yeah.
he'd love that idea.
I bet he would. I bet he would enjoy it. I'm sure Magic would too as well, to get involved with something like that. But the next tour, that concept has already, shall we say, flown. It's already been thought of, and is being currently designed. So, but
Awesome.
besides that, there'll be future tours. We're not done yet with these tours, right? We don't have them every month or anything like that, but that's certainly an idea to think about, to get an event to get people to build a ship for us. I'm all about that. So, especially since my shipbuilding skills are just not that great, so I
Well, I
can
was
build
also
it
thinking it
rock.
kind of like reduces the amount of work that you guys have to put into making each tour slightly unique.
And we like our little concepts. I think the air balloon one went over very
That was
well.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
that
love
was cool.
Yeah, for
love
sure.
that. But I mean, then we started it all with the bus tours, and then
Yeah,
the
the
bus
bus tour.
became
Yeah.
a sleigh. We've gone pretty far with this ship thing, this tour
I'm not
thing.
gonna lie, you guys like won me over heart wise when it came to like I just woke up one morning on Christmas Day and there was like a fucking present on my ring and I was like, what? Why is it in the Leeroy Corp? Like somehow I was given this like thing in my name. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. It wasn't even the Starlantis name. It was in my
Right.
Leeroy
It
Corp
was,
org, and
yeah.
I was like, okay, somebody's talking to me right now.
There you go. So yeah, those gifts actually have been a lot of fun. I've
Yeah, they're
noticed,
cool.
between that and we had like the egg events and everything, people are collecting them, and I think it's awesome to see. It makes me feel proud. I will admit, I'm not gonna, I won't take full credit for it, but I do have some ideas. Uh, and but at the same time, it's team effort to get these events done and
I
everything.
haven't moved
Um,
them, so I
yeah.
have an egg and a present, and they have not moved. I did
I mean-
take the stuff out of them, but I did not move them.
That's exactly what people are doing. I saw it, I think, on a live stream somewhere. They're like, "Oh, I got an egg. I better take out the stuff and then put it back together because I don't want to touch the egg." It was just making me laugh.
Yeah.
And the same with the gifts. Whenever I go around, I see the gifts and I just start giggling. You know. So wait till the next one. Just saying. There will be another form, TM, about where to sign up and where to send the places. Yes, I'm fully aware, guys, that it makes it a little tedious to submit yours or your friends' places to
You're
visit,
funny.
but
I was just about to ask if we could do an in-game thing for that, but
but
you
we
answered that right away.
yeah. I'm dangerous like that. But
She knows what she's doing.
but yeah, so we so we will have a form up as always, so you guys can submit things and submit bases for us to visit, whether it's yours or somebody you know. And now that the rumor is out that you guys get like a gift, yeah, so it might be worth it to do so.
It was fun. I mean, I okay, to be honest, I haven't checked what's in the egg. I don't know, like, should I?
I honestly don't remember what's in the egg at this point.
Okay, yeah. I like just
Crack
the
it open,
luminescent
man.
voxels that came in the present. I actually used those on the factory. So there's the
There should be,
factory
like,
that
a
built all the
quote.
M cores.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing I can remember in the egg now is there's a quote in there, so there should be a screen with a quote in it from somebody.
Oh, cool.
And the
Okay, now I wanna check that.
It all depends. It all depends on which color you got, and it will determine which one of the factors that will determine which quote you got from an NQ person. So, if you've got a purple egg, chances are that's mine. But yeah.
Cool. That's very cool.
What's up, Drax?
Really?
Thanks for dropping in.
I want to go check if it's purple. I think it was white.
White?
That
I
might
don't
just be-
remember.
A white
No,
one,
I
hmm?
think you're just thinking. You're
Yeah,
just thinking
yeah.
real life.
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure where it is on the station right now.
Oh yeah, so you lied. I see how it is.
No, I have one. No, I know I have one because I was like, oh look, it's a. I knew where it was from.
I
I
call
saw
a
it and I was
fibber.
like,
I call a
I'm gonna
fibber.
go.
Do I
I'm
have
gonna
to
go
go?
screenshot it. No, I'm gonna go screenshot it. I'm gonna go find it.
I call fibbing.
No, it's coming. There's the present. Okay, so that's where the present. Now we're gonna go find it. I know it's on the green ring. I just gotta go find it.
Oh,
Actually, I can probably do that through my core list. Yeah, hold on. Oh, so it is there. You just okay.
The trolling is real.
I get trolled at pretty often all day long. So yeah. It's 10 p.m. my time, so I'm gonna strike back just a little bit. But
Go for it.
I'm
I deserve
as
it.
I say, I'm mostly harmless. Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. That translates
Mostly.
to not at all.
I have, much like a cat, I have a murder button. You press it, you know.
Woke up and chose murder. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But mostly, I'm not very harmless. But try not to use the weapons of mass destruction if I can help it. So.
Nuke Starlantis. Like I better be careful.
Whoops! It's just gone. What?
I don't know. There was like some
Where's
data
David
error on like
Copperfield?
hard
Yeah.
drive 53 of 1600. Like we lost the whole station. I'm sorry.
I had one early experience with Starlantis where had been tinkering away in voxel, my poor attempt at voxelmancing on the inside of the cottage, and thought, cool, went outside and there was no station. I thought, uh-oh, this ain't right. And it turned out it had literally, and then got the pop-up saying, we have to reboot the server, bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God, I would have had a heart attack if I obviously was not online during that time.
You're like, my things. No.
No, everything I've done. I worked so hard for that.
Where did it go?
Admiral 50. Yeah, Admiral
place?
52 was having a minor heart attack because he had the exact same experience. Walked out the front door of his cabin on Utopia, and there was no space station.
No.
And it was like, uh-oh.
You know, you look at the map, you're like, am I at the right place?
Yep.
Did I have an aneurysm? What's going on here? Is my video card gone? What's going on? What did somebody unplug something? What's happening? Yeah, I get it.
Hey guys, Drax was asking us like, Swervin, what were you looking at, man? And I was telling him, hey, we're this is talking action this go around. So yeah, I'm kind of just looking at Starlantis while we all conversate. But Drax, you ought to get in here one night if you have a chance. I'd love to
I'll scare him. You'll
talk to
see.
you about. Nah, you think so? You scare him
No,
off?
I know I won't. No, I won't.
Drax is-
I've gone in his streams a couple of times. So
Yep.
You kind of I think you held him at gunpoint or something and made him build a bot. Is that how that
I kind
went?
of twisted. I kind of twisted his arm on his live stream and made him make a bot. Yeah.
That was a really awesome competition though. I loved it.
It was interesting. I thought I would get a lot more flack because it was my idea, guys, to be mean and cruel and say that you can only use a certain amount of items and that's all you can use. And I thought for sure, because some of my coworkers were like, "Oh, that's bad. You can't limit them." No, and I was like, "Yes, you can. We can do it."
I actually think it made for a better competition because of that.
That's
I
very
kind
thought
of
so
what we
too.
did with the fly-in for Starlantis too. It worked.
You know, just you have to work with what you got, right? I've taken art courses, and to me that always just pushes you to push the limits, right? So and really, I mean, I wasn't expecting the amazing creations. Even Drax's bot looked pretty cool. I'm going to admit he won't admit to it. He's probably very embarrassed over it, but it turned out pretty cool. It didn't win, but yeah.
You're a winner in my book, Drax. Care what Nyota says.
Swervin, the Kratos should be available for you to check out. You gotta
All right.
figure out how to get
Yeah,
inside
man.
of it.
Okay. Yeah. I saw you. I watched you watching me struggle to get into the last one. So thanks for standing in front of the door.
In beta, it was valuable to have your entrance to your ship a little bit harder to get into because a person could just like from the other ship could like float over to your ship and jump in it, and then you could kind of So this the entrance isn't that hard on the Kratos. It's actually on the side nearest to the docking port, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You should be able to. Yeah, it should work. I'm still trying to find the egg. So
I
know it's there.
I called you out on it. You know I called
it's
you
there. I know it's there.
it.
I just don't know if you guys gave it to the right alt because it might be on Leeroy Inc., who has the Leeroy Inc. Corp. And to be honest, I think that's where it's at because I can't find it in my core list.
I called it. You know, you guys.
I know it's there.
You know,
I saw it. I was like, I should open this, and I didn't.
Drax knows. I think Drax did it like that, right? Drax, you got one of those eggs, and you looked inside of it and took all the stuff out, and then you put it back together, right? Because I think your egg is still near my ship that you gave me. That's still on your territory.
Right in front of you there, Swervin. That little hole on the left. Yeah.
I've got it located.
Underneath the Leeroy sign. Back in beta, I was big about the Leeroy sign.
It's a cool sign.
I didn't build it. Actually, my buddy MCBS in the Discord, I kind of have him written around the station as lore, and he was one of my beta players that I played. I played Rust with him for 10 plus years. I kind of got him into DU back during beta, and he was a big reason why the station is actually Utopia still. I can't confirm this, but we had some drawn up plans for a station like Utopia. And I misinterpreted what my buddy was talking about, and I built something else. And then Utopia built what he had drawn. And I don't know, but
some drama.
not drama. No. That's capitalism.
Oh boy. So I have one last thing, and then I'm gonna go. I have a cat that's meowing at me, giving me the look, And
Mhm.
and my poor cat, as it was mentioned earlier, I've had roofers here fixing the roof and
Oh,
changing the
good
roof.
grief. Yeah.
Yeah, for like 3 days, and it's been totally miserable. And I've had this cat. I should share my picture of my cat. You guys would be like, "Oh my God, poor thing."
Yes,
She's
cat
just like
tax.
yeah, she's just been through hell and back, I think, because of the noise, having a whole bunch of people walk on the roof. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mhm.
not a good cat situation, we'll say, or dog for that matter, probably. So I'm going to be taking off here pretty soon. Been a long day, but question I have for you guys while we have a stream still going, is there a topic that you guys would like to discuss for next time?
What do you guys think?
I don't know.
Um,
That's a hard question.
well, yeah.
Let's hear it, chat. Let's see it.
Yeah.
I know we
Yeah,
wanted to get into the PvP stuff, right? Did we find anybody
I
to
I
to
I've
talk
been
to us?
trying.
PvP? Mm,
It would be really nice to have some like of the Legion guys, or maybe some of the the other guys that do PvP. I forget
Yeah, are
their
there
name.
independents out there? Are
Yeah,
there
there's
smaller teams we
there's
could
lots
talk
of
to?
independents. Yeah.
That'd be fun. But no, I'd love to listen. Love to talk to Legion. I love to just hear the whole story. They've been around for a while, well, at least as long as I've been around. And man, it'd be fun to talk to them about just the whole thing, just the whole thing. But even from launch to now, if we just talked about that, that would be very interesting. And I don't know, PvP in general, how they do stuff. It'd be fun to, if we could, listen to some of their strategy. Yeah, I'm super interested. Completely oblivious, honestly, about it. But love to hear more. Love to hear from those
Well,
guys.
I think it was 902 that said this earlier. You can't really have this kind of game without having a proper and healthy PvP situation. So it would be very useful and productive to have those guys come in and have a good conversation with us and keep it somewhat positive. I mean, like, you can say stuff that you don't like. That's okay. But just we need to do that in an adult conversation. I know for some of us that's hard, and it used to be hard for me. So
yeah,
the fact that I'm here doing it
yeah.
is a big deal. So I think
The
we
PV
should
the
find
PvP
somebody that
stuff,
can do that
yeah,
too. Yeah.
you know, yeah, the PvP stuff can sometimes gets a little volatile, shall we say?
Salty.
Well,
Eh,
and the
Egg
thing
drop! I
part
found it. Sorry, I just found the egg. Okay, sorry, I do have it.
uh,
quest
took
for
you
the
this
egg.
long?
Okay.
My
Anyways, keep
goodness.
going.
Well, and I
Gosh.
think that I think part of the equation, and maybe I'm just being way too much of a nitpick here, but I think part of the problem is that we keep using the wrong name for it. I don't think that Eve and Dual Universe have PvP. They have character versus character. They don't have player versus player. And I'll give you an example. If I'm flying DCS World, and I'm flying a Mirage, and somebody else is flying a MiG of some kind, we're in generally matched aircraft with generally matched weapon systems, and the only thing that matters actually is if I, Michelle, know what the hell it is I'm doing with my joystick and the pedals, and if I can do a flat spin when I need to, and if I can, deploy flares and things. None of that applies here because it's all character-based skills. The biggest thing the player contributes is the ability to shut their mouth and do what they're told. And I think there's an awful lot of people who get real grumpy with the idea that it is a player versus player contest when it really isn't. It's a team versus team contest. It's a character versus character contest. But I think that a lot of the games that people are used to player versus player engagements, Call of Duty's a classic one. A friend of mine, his son is literally nonverbal autistic, but that fella at a third my age can one-shot someone with a sniper rifle from his hip. He doesn't even bother bringing it up to his shoulder. He just knows where the bullet goes in Call of Duty. That's his. As weird shticks go, that's what that kid can do. That is player versus player. You're not going to beat that kid no matter who you think you are. That doesn't apply here. And so I think a lot of games that do player versus player, it is a me versus Swervin contest. It's a me versus Leeroy contest. That doesn't happen here. And I think if we could get away from using PvP as the name for it, I think it'd be a whole lot easier to cool the tempers. It's character versus character. And maybe, like I say, and maybe I'm overthinking this, but
That makes a lot of sense. I think the emotions is where the player versus player part comes in.
Yeah, my point is I think it's easier to distance the emotions. And when you're talking about story-based role-playing environments, you get into this discussion of the wall. Okay, I'm on one side of the wall, my character's on the other side of the wall, and it's kind of like, working with moon samples. I reach through the wall with a pair of gloves, I manipulate my character, but the character is not me. At the end of the day, I take my hands out of the glass box, and what happened to the character stays in the box. In player versus player, it is what happened to me. In character versus character, it's not. And do you see what like I say? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it was just something I was tossing while I was having coffee the other morning.
Having been in games for a long jaunt, much like you have, and having played a lot of PvP games, while I think you're right. I think that yes, there's a difference in establishing what a player is. We're all players. And what a character is, because a character kind of gets you like a sidestep away from the player, right? I completely get what you're saying. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it would calm the emotions, calm the excitement, calm the competition of I beat you. Or I got you, I found you finally after all this time, and I got you, and I nailed you, sucker. You know what I mean?
Swerve, you nailed that, by the way. Sorry, Swerve abandoned guy in the chat. That was amazing.
That
What
was
we
not in
do?
space.
What did
Gotta
you
give
do?
it up
I
to him.
missed it. Oh man, I missed the drama, and I didn't get to ban anybody. What's going on here?
He it was just a bot that posted like some stupid ad. In his
I don't know. I was getting
actually,
excited about the opportunity that they were advertising.
yeah, I know. Me too for a second there.
I'm suddenly glad I missed it. For some reason, I'm very glad I didn't see it. Okay.
Nut in Space kind of said something in the chat there. He's like, "Is market PvP? Is industry CVC? Like, voxels are PvP?" To tell you the truth, like, yeah, they actually that whole situation kind of plays into it. The one thing when I've talked to the Legion guys, because like, as much as I poke them, they do talk to me sometimes when I get whatever I can get out of them. And the one thing that they kind of argue is that the reason why they call us Care Bears, their argument for it, anyways, is that all we do is build. We don't fight, but they don't know that I fight. I like to fight. But I have the industry. I have all this stuff, and they do too. They have a massive industry. They have some of the nicest factories, and I'm not just talking like productive wise. I mean, like they look nice. Factories out there. These guys, yeah, these guys are. That's why I want them to come talk to us. Is because they have some of the best things in the game, and that's through the whole game. Does PvP drive what they do? Yeah, it does. But is it the only thing that they do? No, it isn't. Like they have factories,
they build ships, they do
ship
all
builders.
Of that
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. So like that, the whole game. It's not designed around PvP, but if you use every portion of it, it can be, and that's I think like something that I thought was super cool, and that Nut in Space kind of brought up.
Well, and that's why, like I said, to me, the idea of red space, if you will, blue space, versus PvP space, essentially having its own economy, just seemed to be the obvious way that things would work, because everything out there has to be, because for example, if I'm running a major PvP organization, the last thing I want to find out is that just before I'm set to fight a major engagement, is that the independent shipper who's supposed to be showing up with my load of antimatter warheads has decided to sell them to the other team because they bid more.
That has happened.
I know. Happened. Oh yeah, and it is just so absolutely. I mean, that's pages from the American Civil War. That literally happened in the American Civil War as well. And war profiteering is a thing, et cetera, et cetera. You have to control your own industry, or you're completely at the mercy of the highest bidder. And so I agree that industry and market are, CVC or PvP, whatever you want to call it. And it has to be played that way in a completely player driven economy. It has to be played that way.
I think the best example of that situation actually playing out within DU's economy and just like the current game structure actually was the warp beacon situation. So like as Starlantis, like I thought like because in beta you could just build a warp beacon, you didn't need the alien cores, right? So I think like very late beta you could, but I mean like I may have or may not have rage quit before that happened. So long story short,
TE point.
I made that point a couple times tonight. I'm still here. Anyways, so when I discovered that I needed an alien core to build Starlantis a warp beacon, which I had already put out the roadmap for Starlantis, I was like, and if you go check the Discord, like we've done everything that the roadmap has said, like to the key. And the one thing that like I could not do when I discovered I couldn't do it was the warp beacon. So that's when I got into PvP and release. And did I go fight some battles? Yes. Did I do them with my ships? No. I hopped on an alt. I got in an org. I went through the whole process of jumping in a ship and fighting. Right. I wanted to experience that battle that I was trying to create through Starlantis' neutral position just to get a warp beacon. And by the end of it, it was actually kind of this is like really cool to me, but I feel bad for the people involved because I don't think nobody except for Starlantis won in this situation. Was when we actually got a warp beacon. It was Infinity Corp and Legion and like not just Infinity Corp. There was like a whole organization, like kind of like an alliance almost. A Lodestar. So Lodestar and Legion kind of were like they had control of alien cores. They had some, of the alien core materials, and some, Legion had the most, but Lodestar had some. So they built this warp beacon network because, like, the idea with IC was if they built a warp beacon network, because they saw what we were doing with the Starlantis and recruiting players for PvP orgs, and they're like, crap, this would be really cool if we could, like, create something that would funnel players into our org. And IC went through this like really long process of building all this stuff and doing everything they did, and then Legion just like jumped out ahead of them in about like I think it was 3 days, like 72 hours, and they beat them to it. So they built this like warp beacon network. They didn't include Starlantis, but they had a warp beacon network that went around this, the system just like what in beta. I think I forget what it was called, but the Velocity Network or something, or Nitro Network or something in beta.
Velocity Network. Yep.
Yeah. So they did the same thing, and it kind of killed Infinity, or I guess Lodestar's wind on their network. But what like their net like the Legion network isn't as used as the network that works with Starlantis nowadays, which is the Lodestar network. But like the reason being is just the locations. So that's kind of what we were selling. Like when this all happened and went down, it was like super, I guess, frustrating for the Infinity Corp and Lodestar guys because, I mean, they lost. It was like a space race and they lost it. So like they were all depressed about it and like kind of like down about it. But then they like started coming back once they realized it was useful and people were gonna join. And then they got kind of like, I mean, they had so many people asking to join after a while. It was kind of annoying. So, but that was like a completely unexpected situation for me. A guy that tried to get this to happen, like this happened in a way that I didn't expect it to happen, even though I played it from start to finish the way I wanted it to, right? Like it was so weird how, like, even though I thought I had that planned out so well, how I thought that plan would work so well, it like kind of went right but wrong at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like it was super cool to see that. It was like emerging gameplay, I guess, if you want to jump back to the JC days, right?
What I'm going to suggest is if we do get a good PvP discussion going on this stream, I'm going to suggest we have it in maybe more than one part because I think there's a lot to unfold and unpack.
Me too. Yeah.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of dynamics to PvP, and I mean, I hope sending out that invitation on here type of thing get somebody from PvP world that PvP is often, or that's their thing, that's how they do you. Then it'd be nice to have some perspective on it, maybe a couple of different perspectives actually, not just one view of how PvP or CVC, I guess, in some ways works and what drives it and stuff.
I want somebody that's going to get as excited as I get about Starlantis to come here and talk about their PvP situation.
Yes, we need that.
That would be great. Yeah.
Because right now, for someone who based on my experiences with other games, doing most notably Eve, but other games as well, PvP open world battles in places like Warcraft and EverQuest and blah blah blah. There's the risk reward quotient right now, as a player, to me makes no sense whatsoever, because my skill points are precious. In 2 years, I'll probably have enough fives everywhere and be kind of bored for skill points that I'll be able to afford throwing points into being able to shoot straight. But right now, I've got industries to run, I've got ore to mine, I've got voxels to bend, blah, blah, blah. And so every point, it's the opposite of my usual statement. I'm usually trying to tell people, don't bother equipping guns on your merchant ships. All you're doing is slowing yourself down because you don't have the skill points to shoot at the people who've spent all their skill points in shooting.
Yep, I spend about $220 a month on my alts, and have done that since release. Not since release, but it's like, wow. I think 2 months into release, I started getting. Yeah. Well, it keeps Starlantis alive, right? Like,
but I mean that's
where I get the 1,500 cores, because like some months I might not pay for the accounts. I lose 400 cores, right? So it's like I got to keep the core limit buffed, if you know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was gonna say that's a lot of money, and then I remembered how much my aunt used to spend playing golf, so never mind.
Yeah. I know people that spend $20,000+ on Star Citizen, and it doesn't do nearly as much as this game does.
Yeah. Don't get me started. But for sure, we need someone to go off with all the happiness and passion that they can bring in a way that's going to make me think, oh, it doesn't matter if my shit gets blown up, because it's going to be, the emotional payoff is going to be worth it. I need to be sold PvP in this game, and it just hasn't happened yet. Right now, it just seems like an unnecessary risk.
That's me with PvE right now. I feel like I have enough resources. I have enough experience, I guess, with running like a crew, maybe like a squad, maybe if you will, that I could build the assets to support that structure. So if people want to come do PvE, maybe next week we could do a podcast like we're doing right now, but actually do a PvE mission during that podcast. I was thinking tonight would be a good opportunity for that, but I kind of messed up the PvE ships I built were just too heavy. So.
Oh, I wish you'd said something, because I've got a 3-seater that I've been literally wandering around the station with the entire time we've been talking.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen you fly around yet.
Yeah, I'm just station. Yeah, well, yeah, it's the bright yellow ship that's been toddling around the background.
I've been watching.
I did see that. I thought it was okay, because sometimes you just think it's been floating there for a while.
No, I've just been wandering back and forth around the station while we've been chatting. I'm just, because there's all kinds of things to look at. I'm just using it as a tour boat right now, really.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw that floating earlier, and I was like, oh, somebody's floating around. But then I thought maybe I was hallucinating, and oh, okay, that's awesome. No, that thing's cool. I like that. Wow, that thing actually looks cool too.
Oh, thank you. It's the first time. It's actually for me was a different way of building than I'd tried before. And it's a little bit inspired by the way I've seen Drac doing his stuff and North Does Gaming. So taking some lessons from other people I've seen on their streams. And so it's a slightly different way of how I put a ship together than normal. So it looks a little bit different than my usual fare, but I kind of like it. And then the first attempt I built was, basically as I put it, a Romulan bird, a Klingon bird of prey as built by Heinkel in World War II. And then I can't remember it might have been NQ-Nyota or Deckard, and I can't remember who, politely suggested that I look up the material resistances for glass versus lasers. I say, oh, cockpit shots are a thing in this game. Oh, crap. Yeah.
That was a beta thing, so that whoever... I gotta give props to whoever decided to rebuff the voxels. That was a...
Yes.
I still think shields should let one of every certain amount of shots through the shield.
I completely agree with you. Leaky shields are good. It's either they should be leaky or they should just do damage resistance.
Using them Yeah.
Hit point pools, and any game I have seen anything work as an extended hit point pool, eventually the economy it's just cheaper to buff the external hit point pool. It's always going to work out that way.
Yeah.
So shielding, armor, whatever, from Twilight 2000 through various space games, damage reduction's the way to go mechanically.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
see. I see, because I can just hear it right now. Some people inside of NQ are going to say, well, the cube's going to come back, but I don't think the cube would come back if you applied the engine speed increase and the shields with like damage, I guess, resistance in a way.
There's actually a solution to this already. It was developed in a game in 2000 called City of Heroes. And by the way, you can play City of Heroes free if you want to take a look at it, because they do a whole bunch of interesting things. That honestly, it was one of those games which was way ahead of its time and suffered because of it. But
the best thing about City of Heroes was the character creation screen.
It still is, by the way.
Hands down. No game I've ever played gave you such a... I mean, you literally, before you even played the game once, before you even logged in for the first time, you spent hours on the character creation screen to make your hero. It was incredible.
So I gotta ask, is it better than I've heard? Oh man, what's the Sandbox? Black Desert Online, I heard, had a really good character creator. Would you say City of Heroes?
I don't think City of Heroes. I don't think anything has beaten that.
Okay,
honestly,
I'll have to check it out just for that. Honestly,
they've tried, but
yeah,
the diversity, the choices you had, you're just like, yeah. Usually, you get into a character selection screen on a new game. You're like, okay, I can choose my eyes, my nose, my mouth. I mean, this goes in depthly in the choices you have are incredible. The colors, unbelievable.
Nyota, in case you didn't know, if you want a good dose of nostalgia, go Google City of Heroes Homecoming. There's a fan-driven project. They've revived the original code, and it is totally worth playing. They've expanded it. They've added new characters, new costume elements. It's a howl. Anyway, one of the things they do.
Many fans do that for many games. They do that for like Warhammer Online as well. There's a lot of I don't want to use the wording that I know for it, but yeah, they're doing it and they're successful with it. You know, they're making it better than the company itself, type of thing. And no, I'm not trying to give you guys any ideas. Don't even try to use. Don't even go there.
It won't work with you.
For me, the thing I wanted to bring forward was they use a mechanic called diminishing returns. So you can when you stack buffs in your super gear. The first one applies 100%. The second one applies 100%. The next one applies 80%. The next one applies 50%. The next one applies 30%. So mathematically, there's no point in 5 slotting anything. It's too expensive. It doesn't buy you anything. If the easiest way of fixing, to me at least, the Borg cube problem is that you impose a diminishing returns on armor depth. So the thicker your armor is, the worse it works.
I agree with you if shields didn't exist, but because shields do exist, the armor, and also having your reduced speed per like your engine, right? So like I don't want exotics to do the full speed. That was just an easy way to explain it earlier. I think I think right now like the max is like 40,000 without rockets. So if say like exotics, even with like a ship, so say you have a basic engine ship that can do the full 40,000, right? Say you have another ship with exotics, it will still do 40,000. But say that ship weighs 2 kilotons. 4 kilotons or whatever, like maybe like the max PvE mission ship's weight requirement is. So I think right now that's like 2 kilotons. So say a 2 kiloton ship could still do like 37,000. That would still give that guy with that voxel ship, or I mean that element ship, a little bit of a chance, a speed advantage on the buffed up ship, right? And then your voxels would matter at that point too, but like your weight will reduce that by a certain amount. So say you have a 7 kiloton ship and exotic engines, your speed might be 30,000. You know what I mean? Like it's a percentage increase, not a definitive increase. And then you would get away from that whole like needing the voxels thing at that high end game situation, because you would still have that, shield penetration, but you have to consider your weight to speed ratio as well, even with the exotic engines.
Okay, my fault, guys. I mentioned PvP as a topic for next week. Before we go any further, I'm conceding defeat for the evening, and I'm going to mention that Leroy did get an egg. He showed me proof of a screenshot. As long as he didn't fake it, he got,
I know.
and on top
I'm
of
honored.
it, he got my egg. He doesn't even know what the code is inside yet,
I
which
haven't opened
makes
it
me
yet.
Oh,
sad.
I still
nice.
haven't opened
So
it. I'll open it next week. How about that? We'll get Swervin to hang out, and he'll come stream it or something.
so I thought I would mention that and close that chapter of the egg. I guess it's not closed now. It gets cracked next week. But I want to thank you guys for hosting this once again. I'm going to take my leave as it's getting later, and I do have work tomorrow. It happens to be about this game. So I wish you guys well. I hope that I'm able to come to the next one, and I hope there's maybe some extra ones on the weekend or something like that for other people that aren't available in this time zone, shall we say? It's nice that it's in this time zone. I'm not complaining. It's my time zone, but at the same time, open it up to more players so they don't have to watch the reruns.
Thanks for
All right.
dropping in, Nyota. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Always happy
Always a
to
good
be
talk.
here.
Yeah. So thank you by the way, for all your hard work, Nyota. It is deeply appreciated.
I think I can speak for all of us here. We all had a lot of fun talking about what we do like and don't like about DU, and I
Yeah.
think that's what we need to keep doing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
They're still there. The topics have just begun, right? I mean it when I say thank you for being part of our universe. It's true. So thank you guys.
Take care of yourself.
And we will chat again hopefully another time soon.
Have
Sounds
a
good.
good night.